Hey guys, welcome to another session of Loadouts. This Loadouts is for Leviathan 3-star new trial of the Water God. So I was talking to Mortrix, one of my most beloved friends on Discord. So if Mortrix, you're hearing this, QQ man, QQ. I usually talk about like a lot of theory crafting and strategies going into going to trials. He's pure free to play, and he actually lacks like units and whatnot, but he's like taken down like all the trials in JP. Really respect the guy because he's super smart. So he was saying that this level of trial with Leviathan is almost like some of the newer trials that they have in JP, like the Kais, where you have to have like a physical cover, but then everybody has to have like elemental resistance. Now originally I said this at the end of my trial video, so if you haven't checked that out, make sure you watch that video to see a quick defeat on Leviathan. I think my team could have been optimized even a bit better to have a more speedy kill, but I think with the team I have and with the units I have and the gear I have, this was the best that I could think of for the time being. Anyways, Mortrix is saying that because in most of the future trials you would want like, I don't know, like 200 like insane full party elemental resistance, but then you need a physical AoE, like physical tank. So as you know, you can't cover magic and physical on the same turn, so technically you have to gear up every single person, every single unit with those elemental resistances, plus or minus buffs. It depends. I think it depends. Like some of them can imperil, so you might need the buffs to actually exceed the amount that equipment gives. Long story short, originally I tried out a team where it was like Nicole, I think I had Ramza in here no matter what, but every one of my damage dealers, every one of my units had 130% water resistance pre-buff. Pre-Nicole's buff, I had 130% water resistance and 100% ice resistance on every single unit, including 2 units having to force Alexander and Rama because I always want to complete with all missions. It didn't really work out because my solo damage dealer was CG Sakura, Blossom Sage Sakura, which the damage and the time it took was way too long, and I just felt that it was a waste of time. So I kind of re-looked at my options, kind of looked at what Leviathan does, and basically it seems that if you break his thresholds, he'll do Tsunami, which is an AoE water. And I was thinking, okay, so if we can force thresholds, perhaps I can do it without a magic tank, without everyone having 100% water and ice resistance, and still have a physical evade tank. And this is where I think the MVP of this trial was Mercenary Ramza. Like, there was no other tank that fit his role of what he could do. So I'm going to quickly go through the gear, and I'm going to focus a lot about Ramza, but I'm going to go through my my gear, my units, and the Esper choice, of course. Let's go through Eiko first. So Eiko, very plain and simple. She was our Dispeller. That's all I used her for, and Evoker. So her LB fills the evocation gauge. I have a ton of LB fill stuff as well on her. This bling necklace helps out, has passionate, 25% LB fill rate within it, and yeah, so we wanted her LB filled as fast as possible, so when she could use her LB she could fill the Esper gauge, and I wanted to get the Esper gauge out of the way before I started bursting down, or the Esper missions out of the way before I started bursting down Leviathan. She has a manufactured nethicite. So manufactured nethicite, I believe it was an FF12 event, a King Mog event that you can get this. You got it on defeating that King Mog event mission. But so if you don't have this, that event may return in the future. I think it will. It did return on JP. This is a really good TMR or ability to have. But if you don't have it, you might need someone like Rena to do this strategy. Otherwise, this nullifies 1 magic cast by an enemy for 1 turn. I don't know if that means that you know, because Leviathan does multiple. He does Water Jump, Blizzardja, etc. He does multiple magic attacks. I don't know if that means like 1 magic cast you actually get hit. I'm not quite sure. I put it on Eiko as a backup plan because I did plan on using Rena for silencing his magic. So in the trial video when you watch it, and I'll say this right now, I didn't get to use manufactured nethicite, so I don't know if it will work. I've heard it does. That's why I put it on there. But she has World Destroyer as well for that defense break when we needed it on Leviathan. Leviathan is susceptible to all breaks, but at the same time he puts up damage mitigation past turn 1 every single turn, so you have to dispel him regardless. So it's kind of hard. It's this trial, the difficulty comes from having too many rolls within the amount of units that you're supposed to take, I think. But anyways, so Ramza I want to spend a bit more time on because he is obviously a beast. Full evasion, okay, so full evasion and 100% ice resistance, 160% water resistance. Leviathan does a 30% imperil and water, so technically he only needed 130% water resistance, but he was still able to do this. Now, Mercenary Ramza, another thing of course is good is that he can equip robes. So that makes him very viable. He can equip clothes, light armor, heavy armor, robes. He could equip everything. So it really makes him like the best tank for this. Especially he can cover both physical and magic damage. So physical damage for every other turn other than his threshold. So basically, if you watch the trial video again, for the first half of the battle, as I was trying to get the Esper gauge up, he was basically doing physical cover. When I was gonna take him down past his threshold, he would do an AoE tsunami, AoE water damage, magic damage, so he can do his CD skill, which was a magic cover. Now that totally just removes the physical cover aspect, so he was like made for Leviathan in my opinion. Leviathan, when he does tsunami, when he breaks his thresholds, he won't do anything else except tsunami, which will imbue your entire team with water. So going physical damage dealing, you would have to dispel them before you actually do real damage. Nyx's dagger here for that elemental resistance, so by 20%, that really helped. Zodiac Escuchant was there mostly for the evasion, Protect Grappler and Ring of the Lucia for the evasion, Judge Helm for a bit more elemental resistance, and of course Strategic Cape for that water and ice resistance. Now, embarrassingly, for this trial, I actually instant Moogled 4 Nicole TMRs, thinking that I would need it. That was how I ran the full team, the full gamut, with 100% ice and 130% water resistance. That was the only way I can do it. Now, obviously, I didn't need it. As you can see, Eiko didn't even have it. So the only person in this strategy that needed the elemental resistance was Ramza. Alright. As you can see, yeah, the rest of the abilities were to get him to 100% evasion. So 2 Quick Assault, a Spirit of Freedom, and True Spirit of Freedom there. And so yeah, so it is amazing what he can do, and he can entrust, which helped us a lot as well on off turns. Provoke, physical cover, like AoE and physical magic AoE cover, which is just too crazy. Rena here, as you can see, she wasn't really set out to do much. Had bad breath on her because it was the only way that I could have Dispel. All my other Espers don't have Dispel. I kept Siren on Ramza here for my Esper if we go back. For my Esper here, because of that water resistance and because she has Dispelled taught to her, I haven't bothered resetting her, and I thought I would need that extra Dispel. But it was really simple, and it's slapping on bad breath. As you can see, there's nothing Rena is doing technically except making sure that she doesn't have MP issues, and she has Riku's pouch for breaking and eccentric. Of course, Riku's pouch, if you have watched one of my Theorycraft videos, I was saying that one of my favorite TMRs from a 4-star is Riku's pouch. It's so handy. I would say Riku's pouch and Ignis's TMR, that recipe, that food recipe, both in accessory slots are probably my 2 favorite TMRs because they can make anyone a support unit. So yes, I did Chaos Grenade. I think it was a 30% break if I'm not mistaken. It could be lower than that, but it's good. It's what I needed. And Eccentric, of course, for that LB buff, 200%. That beats Nicole's regular LB buffs, or LB fill rate stuff, so that's really good. And of course Panacea, so that she can cure status ailments if we need it, but we didn't need it. Her job was pretty much just to do silence. So one of her skills here, silence, this nullifies, it says negate some magic used by anyone during a turn. So the wording is different from manufactured Nethicite. So for manufactured Nethicite, it would seem that it would be a 1-turn silence. But for Rena's here, negate some magic, it implies a plural, so I would assume that it's multiple magic, but it says for anyone during 1 turn. So make sure, if you do have Rena and you're running this strategy, make sure you use her silence at the end of the turn. because if you do it, you can't dispel, you can't do anything, you can't heal, you can't do any magic. Okay, it seals both teams, but I think manufactured nethicite is worded in a way that only works on the enemy, but only works for one magic. But I don't know, I could be wrong, so if you guys know in the comments section, just leave it for me so I can learn. I didn't get to test it here, so as you can see, but everything else is pretty straightforward. All she did is that, and then on a turn I needed to dispel Leviathan, I did Bad Breath. So Bad Breath comes from the new Malboro trial. So if you haven't done that and you really need this, then definitely do this. Otherwise, you can you know, easily slap on Odin for a finger snap. You can slap on any Esper with a dispel or any sort of dispel skill, and she'll be able to do the job. My hero here, I did have him with I know this could be, you know, newer players could be looking at this as like, oh, all these STMRs, I can't do this strategy, and the newer, like older players maybe already have STMRs like better than mine, so it's like, what's the point of this? But again, like I've mentioned in previous loadouts, like the purposes of these is so you guys get the basics and you guys can formulate or theorycraft your own strategy, and of course this helps me showcase what I did for my strategy. As you can see, yes, a couple STMRs here. We got Bahamut here, we got Gothic Amulet, and we have Gentle Trader, A2's STMR. It was, I did make it, of course, for this trial. And Aquan Killer and Soldier's Protection. So Soldier's Protection does come from a 3-star unit. Now, it does have aquatic damage, Dragon, which both are good. It's good to have. It's a 50%, so a dual species 50% physical damage killer, which is quite good, but it comes from a 3-star, so keep that in mind. And then Aquan Killer, I think you can craft this. I think you can craft this because I have 3 of them. I'm pretty sure I didn't. No. Oh, I think Aquan Killer comes from a friend point unit called Ollie. I think that's it. I think that's why I have 3. I thought you could craft it. Anyways, that's my hero there. If you watched the trial video, I went with my buddy Seth King. His heal was really impressive. Although he didn't have any Aquan Killers, I think we could have did more damage. He did have Bahamut here as well. He did have Eileen's STMR, the headgear for more attack. So his attack was like, I think like 24 something, and after buffs it was like 1900s. It was pretty high. He didn't have the Aquan Killer, but he did have Squall's STMR, which increases the LB damage, I think by 1.3 or 1.5. Either way, I did an LB burst down on Leviathan past his thresholds, and so Seth King, you get a shout out there. Your hero did wonders for me, even without the Aquan Killer. Oh, one thing to know is that I didn't go with status ailment protection. The status ailment protection that is probably the most annoying would be his AoE stop. Past a certain threshold, he'll have AoE stop. That's why I wanted to burst him down ASAP, because there's just too many roles to fill. And the other thing is that he does a single target petrification skill. I think it's 100% petrification. It's called Stone Gaze. Basically, I had made sure my Ramza, after he did a physical cover on the first turn, on the second turn he provoked. So he provoked that away. So Seth King's Hyo or my Hyo, which both of them don't have status ailment protection, were protected. Zargaboth here, he wasn't really geared to do anything. I do have TT's STMR to save himself from MP issues, so that's why I'm not geared with much. I have pretty random stuff, but basically I made sure that he had Pure White Blessing on. The rest of the gear were set up from other trials from somewhere else, but I did slap on Riku's pouch as well. On our kill shot, I did use a Chaos Grenade for that break, which was perfect because Rena could do Bad Breath, and then Eiko did Dispel Good Trick to dispel the damage mitigation from Leviathan, and also the Water Imbue that was casted upon us from Leviathan's threshold, and therefore our hero were able to do as much damage as possible. Actually, I think no, I don't think I Bad Breath on that one. I think I did. Never mind. If I did do that, I think the better way would have been to dispel with Ramza, and then to increase attack buff with the Rena. Actually, I think that's what I did. I actually forgot. Anyways, that's pretty much it. So that's my strategy going into it. I don't think I didn't do it as fast as I think I wanted it to. I think I could have optimized it a bit better if my Espers were summoned quicker. I think some things could have changed. I'm not quite sure who I would swap out for in that sense. perhaps Rem for Zargaboth. Zargaboth didn't really do much. His buffs didn't do much. I think Rem in this case would be better. Rem could sacrifice herself for the LB when we needed it, and she can mana fill really easily for my heal, which was technically the only job my Zargaboth did. And she had AoE re-raise, so I think Rem would actually fit better than Zargaboth, the way I used it in this strategy. Anyways, I think that's it. It's a really long loadouts video because it is a pretty difficult trial, I think, if you don't have the right units and the right gear or the right strategy. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that. Anyways, check out that trial video as well. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.